when we define the projects at the start, we have to estimate the value that they're going to bring to the firm in alignment with those corporate objectives. And then we need to continuously monitor and manage whether that value is being delivered to the firm, and then adjust the portfolio accordingly if it's not.
Welcome to Actualizing Success. In this podcast series, our in-house advisors discuss today's finance and technology topics with an emphasis on solutions that embrace tomorrow.
Welcome to today's episode where we dive into the heart of strategic execution, building a strategy-first portfolio culture. In a world where organizations juggle dozens, sometimes hundreds of initiatives, how do you ensure your portfolio isn't just busy, but truly aligned with your business goals? Today, we'll explore how project portfolio management, one of the core PMO services offered by Actualize Consulting, helps clients prioritize what matters, optimize resources, and deliver measurable value. Whether you're leading a PMO or steering enterprise strategy, this conversation will challenge how you think about your portfolio and inspire you to lead with purpose. Today, we have Kurt Rasmussen, a director in the mortgage and fixed income practice at Actualize Consulting, here to discuss his experience with building a strategy-first portfolio culture. Kurt, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Caroline. First of all, I'd like to say that I'm very excited to talk about how to build a strategy-first portfolio culture. As far as my background, my entire career has been focused on project portfolio and program and PMO management. I have over 25 years of experience in this space, 10 with Actualize Consulting, a great place to work, by the way. I give a shout out to all my friends on LinkedIn who I worked with on many of these initiatives. As part of building and managing many PMOs across different organizations, I've had the opportunity to implement project portfolio management processes and tools that truly transform the ways that these organizations selected and managed their project portfolios.
Great. And going back just a bit, can you level set with everyone? Tell us a little bit about project portfolio management.
Sure, absolutely. Project portfolio management, or PPM, can be truly transformational. It used to be that firms did not look at their inventory of projects as a portfolio. They would actually fund individual projects in a siloed fashion and then would select projects without a view into the project's alignment with the strategic direction of the firm, which led to kind of everyone managing their own individual projects, trying to be successful, but no real look at how it's impacting the strategic objectives of the firm. So over the past 20 years, many firms have transitioned from managing those individual projects to actually embracing project portfolio management to ensure strategic alignment, to optimize their resource allocation, and ultimately to maximize the value across the entire project landscape. In order to fund the optimal portfolio of projects, many firms now implement a project intake process that selects projects based on strategic alignment and value that will be delivered to the firm, as well as a risk factor in there to help them score the projects and have a view into risk to the firm. PPM also fosters transparency and accountability through standardized governance, performance tracking, and continuous portfolio optimization.
Yes, I'm hearing a lot about the priority of strategy and the necessity of having a strategic vision. So how can organizations really ensure that their project portfolio truly reflects their strategic priorities and not just, what seems urgent or popular in the market more generally?
Oh, that's a great question, Caroline. So from my perspective, firms need to align projects with strategic goals. On an annual basis, most firms define their strategic objectives for the upcoming year. And as part of that, there's project selection process that goes on. And in order to ensure that we have the optimal portfolio, firms need to establish a clear strategic framework to evaluate and prioritize all projects against those corporate objectives that were defined by senior executives, and then use a strategic scoring model to assess alignment and impact of the individual projects against those corporate objectives. And then finally, they need to regularly review the portfolio to ensure continued relevance as business priorities shift. And this would occur through a governance forum that might meet monthly in order to really look at the portfolio to ensure that projects are not dropping off, that we're aligned with corporate objectives, or other projects, shadow projects, have been introduced. So it's a really important role for these senior executives to be able to evaluate the portfolio on an ongoing basis.
Speaking to that, when you have dozens of competing initiatives, and trying to align them to your strategic priorities, what frameworks or tools really help you prioritize the ones that deliver the most value? And what have you seen in your experience?
I've done this for many, many different clients in the past. As I'm working with them and implementing a project selection process, the firms need to need to use prioritization scorecards or PPM tools that they may have bought on the market to rank the projects using predefined selection criteria. So instead of funding each project individually without comparing them against all other projects, these tools consistently score each project, and they help senior executives identify the projects that are most closely aligned with strategic objectives, as well as other critical criteria in order to fund the optimal project portfolio that will deliver the highest value to the firm. And that's ultimately what we're looking at here, is that how can this project portfolio, instead of being just a group of individual projects, how is this portfolio adding to the value of the firm? And so, when we define the projects at the start, we have to estimate the value that they're going to bring to the firm in alignment with those corporate objectives. And then we need to continuously monitor and manage whether that value is being delivered to the firm, and then adjust the portfolio accordingly if it's not. So I want to give you an example. I was on a project at a Fortune 50 client, and I built a project portfolio framework to include the introduction of business cases, as well as a project evaluation scorecard that assisted senior management to select a project portfolio aligned with their goals and objectives for the coming year. Previously, they were all over the place with funding their projects. They had, it was a division head with a $50 million project portfolio. He had 8 or 9 direct reports, and each of them had their own individual projects they want to have funded. And so they got funded in kind of a haphazard manner. So when I introduced this, the executive sponsor for the project, who was also the head of that operations technology division, he was thrilled by the improvement he saw in the makeup of his $50 million project portfolio by introducing this project selection tools and processes. And so it was a big win for him because his portfolio was really achieving the goals that he had set for his organization.
Yeah, that's a great example. In addition to those project performance tools and scorecards, what are some other key ingredients of a PMO, more largely governance model, that not only ensures oversight, but actively drives those better portfolio decisions and business outcomes that are really aimed at delivering the highest value to the firm?
Right. No, that's it's such an important tool that I believe all firms should use. So in my opinion, the adoption of a PMO steering committee is like the number one way to strengthen governance. The success of a steering committee ties back to clearly defining roles for the members of the steering committee and ensuring that their approval authorities are included in the steering committee charter. One of the main roles of that PMO steering committee is to review, prioritize, and approve or deny new projects. So that's part of the project selection. After projects are funded, the steering committee should meet regularly in order to review additional project funding requests and to look at the portfolio progress along with its associated risks, issues, changes that come up. We're talking scope, schedule, budget changes. They could be resource changes, but the major changes should be rolled up to the steering committee and have them make those decisions on whether those changes should go forward or not. And also, they're responsible for making decisions that have been escalated to the group by individual project teams or the PMO director. So project dashboards are used at the project level to populate executive level reports that are submitted to the steering committee in advance of each meeting. These reports provide the members with the information to make portfolio level decisions. These regular meetings allow the members to provide feedback to the PMO as well as to ensure that the portfolio is continuously aligned with those strategic objectives. I know we're harping on this, but it's so important. You set those strategic objectives, you build that scorecard, and then you make those decisions, and then the steering committee helps make those decisions, and then the steering committee is monitoring the portfolio as the projects move forward. So that steering committee is such a key element to the success of project portfolio management and ensuring that we are adding that strategic value.
Yeah, that's so helpful and insightful. When the steering committee is looking at project performance, what portfolio metrics are actually moving the needle for business performance, and which ones are just noise?
This is a tough thing. I've been to a number of conferences recently, and the talk about project and portfolio KPIs is on the forefront of everyone's mind because you want to be able to track success. You want to be able to monitor that and ensure that the projects that you funded are actually meeting your goals. And so you develop the KPIs in order to best assess that. So each firm, and this is so important to understand, each firm will have to define the best metrics for their portfolio. And every firm's going to be a little bit different, especially with the composition of their portfolios. Some firms may have a real tech-heavy portfolio, while others may be more business-related with less tech. But here are my top 3 that I think can be used across all portfolios. So first, you define the portfolio KPIs and tie them to business outcomes. So, for example, you have a return on investment. So some firm says, okay, we want to do an ROI on all of our projects to ensure that they're delivering on the investment that we make. So they would put together an ROI calculation at the beginning when the projects are selected. That would be one of the criteria that are used to select the projects. And then you're monitoring them through these KPIs. You're monitoring them over time to ensure that that return on investment is achieved. And then you might have a time to market component. So what's really important to an individual firm might be how quickly can we make these changes that are part of our projects so that we are timely to market on our products. And so you can track that. Once again, you define what that time to market is as part of your project selection. Then ultimately you're tracking that and ensuring that your technology and business operations groups are delivering these projects to market on a timely basis. So that's the first one. Second one is measure the strategic alignment score throughout the lifetime of your portfolio to ensure that the portfolio remains focused on strategic objectives. So at the beginning, as you're funding all your projects, you're going to calculate an alignment score when you come up with your portfolio of projects. And then you're going to monitor that throughout the life cycle of the individual projects that comprise the portfolio to ensure that your alignment is still there. And if it's not, then you may make adjustments. So the steering committee is going to be monitoring and assessing that alignment score, throughout the year. And third, track benefits realization. So everyone talks about benefits realization. And once again, it can be tough because that forces kind of the individual project owners to really sit down and calculate what benefits are we going to achieve from this. They can be quantitative, they can be qualitative. Quantitative obviously are better because especially if you have a good calculation for the benefits. And then as the project goes on and as the project is completed, you would calculate the benefits that are actually achieved and compare them back against those numbers that were as part of the planning process. So you can do that comparison, make sure that your portfolio is actually delivering the value that you defined back in the planning stage. So really gives a picture to the steering committee of what's working and what's not. And finally, so the noise that's out there in KPIs, I'm just going to focus on project completion rate here. So a lot of the firms use just, what percentage of projects were completed either on time, on schedule, on budget. Those are important things. But when you're looking at making sure that you are running a strategically focused project portfolio management process, those KPIs are not as important. And there's other administrative KPIs that you can throw in there as well that, they'll give you some information, but they're not really ensuring that you are focused on the value that's delivered against your strategic objectives.
That's a great analysis into those KPIs. So how can portfolio managers keep stakeholders engaged and aligned, especially when priorities shift as, project monitoring goes on and things have to change? How do you keep stakeholders engaged?
Yeah, no, and that's inevitable, right? There's going to be changes in the portfolio. Things come up throughout the year. And as a result, you have to be able to handle the shifts in the priorities and keep the stakeholders engaged and aligned. None of this is done in a vacuum. That's, if your PMO is shut off and in a corner somewhere, that's not the way to do it. The best solution is to keeping these stakeholders engaged is to interface with them constantly throughout either weekly portfolio review meetings, distribution of project and program reports, and even meeting with them individually to keep them in the loop on not only their projects, but the projects in the portfolio. So they understand, why are all these projects here? Well, we need to constantly remind them about that strategic alignment and ensure that the stakeholders are bought in. If they're not bought in, there's going to be chaos. So you want to interface with them constantly in order to keep them in that loop. And you can do this by building feedback loops with executive sponsors, as well as business unit leads, and also creating executive level reports that provide updates on the portfolio composition, the progress, any risks or issues that we're experiencing, any changes that have occurred, and also, and very importantly, the benefits or the value that have been realized by projects that are complete, that were funded earlier in the year. And also, we want to allow for stakeholders to provide feedback during steering committee meetings, as well as other PMO or program-related meetings. Allowing this feedback and this back and forth, we want to foster a culture of strategic collaboration across the silos. We want to eliminate those silos. We want to be able to understand how each project fits into the overall construct of the individual divisions or departments within the firm, so that everyone is on the same page about not only which projects are the most important, but how the individual projects are impacting the different areas across the company. So they're aware of what they need to do in order to support the implementation of any individual project. So that communication to our stakeholders is critical to the success of a strategically driven PMO and project portfolio management process.
Great. So finally, everyone's talking about it. How is AI play into the project management world, and how is it helping to transform project portfolio management?
Yes, AI, the buzzword that we hear every day. And to be honest, I'm a big AI proponent. I've seen it in a number of the project portfolio management tools that are on the market today. I've been kind of monitoring their inclusion of AI into their individual applications. And I've seen a lot of really good stuff in the project portfolio management space, and it's only going to get better. I was just at the PMI Global Summit, and there was so much talk about how AI is going to really help to improve the efficiency and the accuracy of information that executives need to have in order to make these critical project decisions. So from my perspective, AI is making a very positive inroads. First, AI can help with making smarter project selection and prioritization by evaluating and ranking projects based on strategic alignment, ROI, capacity, and risk tolerance. So the AI is going to learn from the information that you put into there. You put all the business cases into your tool, and the AI is going to then, based on criteria that you provide to it, is going to help you to rank the projects that you have put in there based on all the information that we've given it. And I've seen it work, and it's pretty amazing, and it saves so much time. So when you do this, it ensures that the portfolio delivers maximum value and aligns with organizational goals, which is, I can't say it enough, it's so important. Second of all, AI is automating reporting and data reconciliation tasks, which can save firms a tremendous amount of time and eliminate manual processes. So mentioned that before, the efficiency and the elimination of manual processes. Project management is full of tons of manual processes that require a lot of individual manual work by the project staff. And by introducing AI, it can help with the processing for compiling reports, for tracking project status, and reconciling data across systems. This automation allows the PMO teams to focus more on strategic activities, which obviously is the most important, rather than spending all their time on this administrative overhead. And finally, the third thing that AI is really helping with when it comes to project portfolio management is firms are using that AI to implement predictive analytics for risk and performance. And how important is that? Predictive analytics. So AI is telling us from a risk and performance perspective, they look at analyzing historical and real-time data to forecast project risks, budget overruns, and potential schedule delays. So I know all of us try to do that as people that are running PMOs, people that are running programs. You're constantly trying to make sure that you have all that data and you're able to assess it. Well, this AI is going to take that into a predictive mode, so it can tell you exactly what may be coming up that you need to deal with. So it's a game breaker. It's really exciting. And so this enables proactive mitigation strategies and more accurate resource planning. So AI is really killing it in the PPM world. And I'm so excited to see where it's going to take us in the future. And I'm going to continue to monitor that, as well as other advances in the project portfolio management space. So Caroline, it was so fun to talk about this. Obviously, I'm very excited about all this. I'm excited about Actualize and our PMO offering, which includes project portfolio management. And I'm excited about taking it to wonderful new places.
Thanks so much, Kurt.
Thank you, Caroline. Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us for today's episode of Actualizing Success. Make sure to visit us online at www.actualizeconsulting.com, where you can explore our service offerings. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on iTunes, Spotify, or your preferred platform. If you've enjoyed what we talked about today, please consider leaving a review and following us on LinkedIn. If you have any questions or would like to share your opinions with us, please send us a note at podcast@actualizeconsulting.com. We look forward to hearing from you.